Hey guys, this is Amit, and today I'm going to show you how to chroot users with sftp. Chroot is basically forcing users to be in a changed root environment. So you basically change the root. You might come across situations where you have to allow users to upload files to a server, but then you don't want them to be able to peek around any other directories, and you might want to force them to a certain directory. Most likely in situations when you are managing your own web server without cPanel or any other software like that, you might have to let users upload files and directories into the website root directory. In those cases, it would be very handy if you could chroot the users and then force them to be in that particular directory where they are supposed to be uploading files or directories to. The bare minimum requirement for this to work is to have the openssh version 4.9 or newer. Let me see what version I have. I have the 6.4. Basically, we are using the system's openssh server to serve the sftp and then chroot the user. So we'll go into the etc sshd sshd underscore config, and then we'll go to the bottom. As you can see, as an example here, this is like basically the match user directory. A directive lets you override settings on a per user basis. So what you can do is here match user and then the username, let's say test user, and then you would say chroot directory. You can specify like two variables that I know of. The %u will resolve to the username logging in, and then the %h will resolve to the home directory of the user logging into the system. For example, let's say we want to force them to be in the data directory, and then let's say we have a directory with the username inside the data directory, then we can force them to change root to that directory. We want to disable the TCP forwarding. We don't want the users to be able to forward to the TCP forwarding, and we're also going to disable the X11 forwarding. Now you want to say force command internal SFTP. So we are going to force them to use the internal SFTP. You can also say subsystem, I think, just like here. You can say subsystem SFTP. So either way, now let's go ahead and save this file and then actually restart SSH. Just let's go ahead and do that. Okay, we restarted the SSH. Let's add the user test, and let me delete this user test. The other thing is, if you don't want the user to be able to SSH in because you are creating a system account, they can by default SSH into the system. So if you want to avoid that, you want to specify the cell to be sbin no login, or you can either use that cell or you can do bin false. Either of the two. You can create the user with one of these two cells. So when you create a user with one of these two cells, then the user will not be able to SSH in. So let's say user add test -s, and then we're going to say sbin no login. So the user is created. We create the password for the user test. Now that the user is created, the other thing to note is that the directory that you want to force the user to chroot to has to be owned by root, and it cannot have any group write access for security reasons. So if we look at our SSHD config here, we said we want the user to chroot to the /data and then the username directory. So that username directory has to be owned by root, and then we can go ahead and create another directory inside that directory, which is owned by the user being chrooted. So let's create a directory called test. Since we created this directory, this is owned by root by default. So we'll go ahead, go inside, and then we're going to say, let's say we're going to say public HTML, or you can say content, or whatever the folder name is. You want to make it so that it is owned by the user test and the, public HTML. All right, so now the user has permissions to write into that directory. Now let's go ahead and pull up the WinSCP. So here's the WinSCP. I'm gonna do not the root user 192.168.10.114, which is the IP address of that box, test user, and the test password. As you can see here, the user is taken into this directory. Now, if you try to create a file here, let's say we want to say test.txt, and then we have the test.txt here, test file. Let's try to save it. As you can see here, that the permission is denied. So the user is not able to write outside that public HTML directory. So we'll say abort, and we are going to create new file here. Let's say new file, test new.txt. As you can see here, I'm going to testing file saved by chrooted user. Call it chroot or change root, whatever you feel comfortable with. So now you can see that we were able to save this file. And if we go in here, public HTML, test new.txt, now you can see, okay, saved from the cell. And we can go ahead and open this file up and then see. Yep. So there you go. The users now chrooted and they don't have access to any other directory. So their root is the public HTML. So that's basically what the chrooting SFTP users does. You can also change root for the group. In order to do that, all you have to do is use the match group directive. So let's say, for example, sssd underscore config, you could say match group sftp, and then you can say chroot directory. Just like before, you can put whatever percent %u, or you can just give the full path to the group directory or whatever, and then everything else is the same. The only difference is the match group and then the user, now the name of the group. So after that, what you would have to do is you would have to create a directory. Let me show you that. So group directory, we're gonna say allow TCP forwarding no, X11 forwarding no, and then we're going to say force command internal sftp. Now once you do that, you want to create that directory here. So we're going to say, what was it? It's csh config. We're going to say mkdir group directory here. And then inside that group directory, we're going to say mkdir public underscore HTML or content or whatever. And then we're going to say ch own. And then I don't know, you can be owned by anyone, but we'll say dot group name is SFTP. And then we're going to say public HTML. Oops, we haven't added the group yet. Group add SFTP. So now you can see that the public HTML, ls-ld public HTML is the group ownership is SFTP. We're going to give the group write permissions. Read, write, execute for the group. So it's the public HTML directory. So if we look at the directory now, so it has the right permissions. Now all you have to do is add the users to that group, and the group should be able to access that directory. Let's try adding that user test to this group. The way you use is user mode -a -g. We're gonna change the user test to the group SFTP, I believe. I was doing it the wrong way. All right, so if we look at the Etsy group, we should be able to see that the test user belongs to the SFTP. You could have directly edited the group file and then just added the user after this column here. But anyways, all right, so that user is added to that group. Now let's go ahead and restart the SSSD just in case we haven't after adding the group stuff. Oh, well, we want to create a new user because that test user is already chrooted to another directory. Let's create a user called test1. user add test1, and then we'll say pass wd test1, test1, test1. Let's go ahead and change the configuration file. Okay, that's fine. Let's go ahead and add the membership, to the that user. Will say test1 here. Now, if I bring up the sftp client and try to log in as that user, new user test1, let's say test1. And as you can see here, the user is taken to the public HTML directory. I'm going to say group chroot test.txt. And let me test group chroot. Let's save it. It's been saved. Now we'll go into the group directory, public HTML. As you can see here, the group chat, this group chroot file is here. Okay, looks good. So if we go ahead and open this file again, yes, okay, looks good. So that's how you chroot users and let them upload, download files from and to a certain directory. It is definitely helpful when you are running your own server and you want users to be able to upload and download to the web server's root directory. I hope you learned something from this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment if you have any questions. Thank you for watching.